Some stories seduce you with softness. They slip into your life quietly, wearing pastel colors, speaking in gentle voices, promising nothing more than peace. They drift toward you like a spring breeze, light, harmless, impossible to fear. They greet you with shy glances and delicate gestures, whispering innocence as if the world they inhabit has never tasted malice or betrayal or the subtle violence of unspoken expectations. They pretend to be simple, safe, clean. They wrap themselves in sweetness so convincing that you forget sweetness can also be a disguise. You forget that softness is sometimes just camouflage for the things we try not to see. The fragrant flower blooms with dignity is one of those stories. At least at first, on the surface it seems like a typical romance. A well-mannered boy, a perfect rich girl, a school where kindness floats in the air like pollen, soft, weightless, effortless. A world where flowers bloom on time and teenagers smile politely and everything appears so calm that you almost believe it is natural. You almost believe that nothing painful could grow in a place so gentle, but the truth is this: beneath the bright petals, something else is blooming. Something darker, something quieter, something honest. Because this story is not about a shy romance. It is not about blushing cheeks or clumsy confess irons or the fluttering warmth of first love. It is about the silent wars fought beneath polite smiles. It is about the invisible pressure of being admired. It is about how society can shape a human being into an object and then pretend it was an act of love. This story is a mirror, and the world it reflects is not kind. When you look at Suiren, you see the girl everyone worships. You see beauty so extraordinary that it stops conversations, redirects glances, and rearranges the atmosphere around her. You see the way students part around her like she's something divine. You see the way people speak softly in her presence, as if loud voices might shatter her. But here is the truth no one says aloud: Suiren is not a flower. Suiren is a statue, still, untouchable, beautiful in a way that hurts to look at for too long. She stands there like something carved rather than born, admired by everyone and understood by no one. Her silence is not sweet. Her stillness is not gentle. Her calmness is not the calmness of a girl unbothered by the world. Her calmness is the calmness of someone who has learned that every word she speaks becomes a performance she never auditioned for. She is not shy. She is trapped. Trapped in the role given to her. Trapped in every expectation placed upon her. Trapped in every unspoken rule that follows beauty like a shadow. Her beauty is not a blessing. It is a responsibility. It is a cage built from every stair she cannot escape. Stairs that lift her higher than she wants to be lifted. Stairs that strip away her humanity piece by piece until all that remains is the image of a girl too beautiful to be real. The more she is adored, the more invisible she becomes. Because admiration can be a form of erasure. It can overwrite a person until they are no longer allowed to be anything other than the ideal the world wants to see. This is a kind of violence no one talks about. The violence of being idealized. The violence of being turned into something perfect when perfection is nothing but a polished coffin for the parts of you that are messy and vulnerable and alive. Opposite her is Sho, a boy so quiet, so unassuming, so ordinary in the world's eyes that he practically dissolves into the background of every scene. He is the student no one expects anything from. The boy teachers forget to call on. The boy classmates forget to notice. The boy whose existence becomes weightless not because he is empty, but because the world never learned to see him. And yet, he is the first person who doesn't stare at Suiren like she is a work of art. He looks at her with the kind of stillness that frees rather than confines. He becomes the only presence in her life that does not demand anything from her. He is her anomaly, her oxygen, her first glimpse of something real in a world that insists on treating her as decoration. But the irony is sharp and quiet and cruel. Suiren, the girl everyone notices, is starving for real attention. Sho, the boy no one notices, is the only one capable of giving it. He carries his own burden too. Where Suiren is suffocated by notice, Sho is suffocated by neglect. He is the child who learned to shrink himself so the world would not feel bothered. He is the boy who hides in plain sight. Not because he wants to be invisible, but because invisibility became easier than fighting for space in a world that has already decided who deserves to be seen. Suiren sees him, and for the first time in her life, someone sees her too, but their world is not as harmless as it looks. The school they attend is quiet, polite, well-mannered, beautiful in the way curate gardens are beautiful, symmetrical, clean, controlled. Everyone speaks softly. Everyone behaves perfectly. Everyone knows the rules so deeply that the rules no longer feel like rules. They feel like air. But politeness is not the opposite of cruelty. Politeness is often how cruelty hides. In this world, beauty can be a weapon. Kindness can be a prison. The pressure to maintain harmony can suffocate anyone who steps out of line, even if stepping out of line simply means being extraordinary or different or vulnerable. In a society where standing out is dangerous, Suiren's beauty is not a gift, it is a target. The bullying she faces is subtle, invisible. The pressure she carries is suffocating. Not because anyone screams at her or insults her openly, but because expectations wrap around her body like vines, soft, gentle, and strangling. A raised eyebrow can cut deeper than a blade. A whispered comment can bruise harder than a fist. A fake smile can suffocate more effectively than a shout. Every gesture becomes a test. Every interaction becomes a performance. Every moment becomes a negotiation between who she is and who she is allowed to be. This is the violence of social harmony, the quiet brutality of a world that prioritizes appearances over truth. And yet, the romance that forms between Suiren and Sho is not soft. It is not delicate. It is not gentle in the way love stories are often portrayed. It is defiant. It is a rebel lion. It is two people fighting their way out of the cages built around them. Every time Suiren takes a step toward Sho, she is abandoning the role the world forced onto her. Every word she manages to speak is a crack in the porcelain statue she was forced to become. Every expression she shows is a small revolution. Her silence begins to break not because she becomes braver, but because she finally finds someone who makes it safe to be imperfect. Sho does not ask her to be beautiful. He does not worship her. He does not expect her to be anything other than human, and that changes everything. He becomes extraordinary not because he is gifted or brilliant or powerful, but because he sees her, truly sees her. He allows her to breathe in a world that constantly steals her breath. Their romance is a liberation, a quiet revolution, two people healing wounds they never admitted they had. She teaches him that he deserves attention. He teaches her that she deserves humanity, and through them, the story reveals a truth many people never confront. Love often grows from shared wounds, not from perfection, not from superficial compatibility, but from the parts of ourselves that ache in the same rhythm. When the petals fall away, and the story strips itself of sweetness, it leaves you with a truth that hums quietly beneath every scene. We all wear masks. Some made of beauty, some made of humility, some made of silence, some forged by expectation. We put them on because the world demands that we fit into shapes it can understand. We put them on because society punishes those who are too honest, too emotional, too authentic. We put them on because it is easier to live as a version of ourselves than to expose the version the world might reject. But masks crack. Masks always crack. And when they do, the world finally sees us, not as ornaments, not as ideals, not as roles to be played, but as people desperately trying to be understood. The fragrant flower blooms with dignity isn't soft. It isn't harmless. It isn't a gentle romance sprinkled with sweet moments and pastel emotions. It is a mirror polished with politeness but sharpened with truth. It is a reminder that even the most delicate flower blooms through struggle, that dignity is forged in silence but revealed in the moment one finally chooses to speak. That beauty is not always grace, it can be a bruise. That kindness is not always warmth, it can be a chain. That silence is not always peace, it can be a scream hidden behind a polite smile. It shows us that every gentle character carries a storm beneath their calm. Every quiet person holds stories that were never allowed to be loud. Every shy glance hides a lifetime of navigating the expectations placed upon them. And in revealing these truths, the story asks us to look inward, to examine the ways we, too, hide our wounds behind the masks we show the world, to confront the places where we have been statues instead of humans, to acknowledge the people who see us for who we are instead of who we pretend to be. It teaches us that love, real love, is not about perfection or fame or admiration or performance. Love is the courage to be ordinary in front of someone who sees you as extraordinary, not because of your beauty, but because of your vulnerability. It teaches us that healing does not arrive with force. Healing arrives quietly, like a shy boy in the back of the classroom. Healing arrives in small moments, awkward conversations, hesitant smiles, trembling confessions, fragile connections that slowly become lifelines. It teaches us that even the gentlest stories can carry hidden brutality. Even the prettiest worlds can hold emotional violence. Even the softest characters can become mirrors reflecting our own pain back at us with uncomfortable clarity. The fragrant flower blooms with dignity is more than a romance. It is a portrait of a girl learning to exist outside her pedestal. A portrait of a boy learning to believe he matters. A study of the masks we wear for survival, and the rare people who help us take them off. It reveals the weight of being idealized, the ache of being overlooked, the suffocation of social harmony, the rebel lion of intimacy, the fragile dignity of choosing to be seen. It reminds us that silence is not always peace, Beauty is not always protection. Kindness is not always harmless. Romance is not always soft. And above all, it reminds us that every human being, no matter how admired or ignored, is fighting a quiet battle the world never sees. And so the petals fall, and the masks crack, and the truth blooms. A truth as fragile as a flower, a truth as sharp as its thorns, a truth that whispers gently, and cuts deeply. This is not a soft story, this is a mirror. And sometimes, the reflection hurts. Fade out,